a few slides, 3 slides. Okay. So, my question po. Wala. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, if you look at how I have mapped this out, no? So, when you have the identified problem or goal, if you're developing a software, then from there, you identify the variables that requires measurement so that the problem may be resolved. Okay? May mga typographical errors po, no? Or how the goal may be achieved. Halimbawa, gagawa ka ng software, no? So, your goal is to establish a specific quality and specific functionalities of your project, let's say software applications. And then, conscious of that objective or problem, you will have to identify the variables that will be required to be able to address that objective or to resolve the set of problems which you have declared. Because without the variables, we cannot now have a basis for answering the problems or for reaching that goal, for fulfilling that goal. Okay, and then we now measure the variables at appropriate times with representative samples to fully cover all nuances. Pag sinabi natin nuances, all gradients. No? Pag halimbawa kasi, di ba yung, let's say, wala pa tayo kasing example. I will explain this with an example from one of you next meeting. No? Pag sinabi natin nuances, halimbawa kasi yung application mo, lagi mo talagang isa-secure, ano ba yung levels of applications nito? Kung isahan lang na level, walang problema doon. But one way to solve a complex problem is to first engage yourself in the lowest level possible. Okay? I really do not program because I haven't learned a specific language. I've tried to learn R because that is what I need. For lack of time, I always start and then do not complete it. But before, merong mga students kami when we had Computer Science Institute. I don't know if it was now the College of Science. I think it was College of Science kasi nandito na kami dito sa campus natin. Merong makukulit na they got me as content advisor, no? Eh, hindi ma-program. Madali na mag-defend. And I said, why can you not program it? Kasi they're trying to address it as a complex problem. Sabi ko, well, declare the dimensions as 2 dimensions muna. If you're looking at 4 dimensions, talagang malulukring ka because it's not rendering as you want it. Let's say, you're trying to look at a traffic stop na dalawa pa lang na intersection. Hindi ka nag-ano yung mga, di ba, so go to the left from the, hindi yung, di ba, when you're approaching one na hindi ka na magtitingin dun sa stop sign, that you can really just go basta walang obstruction, yung parang ganon from the left pag ganyan. Anyway, you know how it is. Eh, tinitingnan nila ang daming dimensions kung alin doon ang mag-change. And I said, no, you just need to look at it from the base and let it run. And we argued about how to do it muna. 2 dimensions muna. Okay. Parang it's like Go, stop muna. What happens? When this needs to stop, this can go. Di ba dalawa? Dalawa pa lang ang pinapamove mo. And then, when it fully works, control mo muna yung dalawang yun. Then let the other 2, 3, 4, 6 dimensions follow. And when they did it that way, they were able to do it very fast kasi nga naintindihan from the basic level. So when we're saying nuance, we're saying this. Huwag niyong i-atake yung yung rendition ng program mo in the most complex form. Pinakasimple mo na, let it work at that. And when you appreciate, parang gamay na gamay mo na. And then, dagdagan ng isa, dagdagan, and then dagdagan. And then you get to see how beautifully it can be rendered. Okay? So, when we now process the data, we get to have the results, no? And then we make a decision. Okay? So, why is there an arrow that goes from when you have the identified goal and then you make a decision? This will be your preliminary decision. Okay? Or, it could be that you iterate going back and then you make a decision. Ibig sabihin, when you're done processing data and you have the results, go back ka muna. Sabi, talaga ba? Talaga ba? Wala ba akong na-miss doon na mali? And then you try to go back and then make that kind of decision. If we're looking at the decision-making steps as it is declared, no? So, titingnan mo, hindi ko yan nababasang mabuti, no? So, we have 7 steps. First one is to identify the decision, gather information, identify alternatives, weigh the evidences, choose among alternatives, take action, and review your decisions. Itong mga arrows na to, these are where the quantitative methods will have their biggest contribution. No? When you identify the decision, no? Ano ba ang kailangan mong desisyonan? Okay? So, you will have to gather the information. Ibig sabihin, there are missing steps in here, not declared, but in quantitative methods, you need to declare all the processes required to go from step 1 to step 2. Okay? When you have gathered the information, you're able to have results, no? And from the results, sinasabi dito is you identify the alternatives, no? Ibig sabihin, for these types of decision-making from the results, diba? Halimbawa, no, when your results come up na hindi possible yung iniisip mo, huwag mong ipilit na pwede. Okay? So, from the results of your study, sabi mo, ay, hindi pala pwede. It doesn't work better than the normal, than the regular applications being used. So, from the results, you provide alternatives, no? Ibig sabihin, ano possible doon sa study mo ang pwedeng improve to be able to reach a better form of result. Or, sasabihin mo, no? Adapt the general, but, okay, try to fix this possible weakness by, diba? Kasi yung in-identify mong problem, merong weakness yung regular applications na ginagamit. So from the results na hindi masyadong maganda, hindi comparable from the common applications, so you will have to say, why were you trying to address the difficulty, the weakness in the common applications? Kasi sinasabi mo, may weakness siya dito. So you provide them with that kind of set of alternatives. Hindi sayang kung ang results ng study mo is not as you expected it. Okay? Kasi merong mga panel na pag negative yung results, ipinapunish yung researcher, yung estudyante, which is not ethical, not reasonable. Nagre-research ka, you're trying to find out. If you found out that what you were trying to develop is not as good as what you were trying to replace, just declare, be honest about it, and that's as good as being able to contribute to the science, to your field of study. And then, after that, what do you do next? You weigh in on the evidences, no? So, ibig sabihin, ano ba yung na-generate kong evidence, no? And from the alternatives, what's best? So, di ba, ang example natin, extreme, hindi maganda yung result ng study mo. Okay, so you weigh in. So, ibig sabihin, from the results, hahanapan mo yun kung asan din yung weakness ng study mo. And then, you provide them with alternatives. Any which way, hindi sayang. You are never to feel that you are less of a researcher or less capable if the results of your study do not agree with the target results. You're just being honest about it. Kaya may mga estudyante na nagdo-doctor ng mga results because of this difficulty with an immature panel who cannot appreciate what a truly valid research may come up with. Why do I say that? Because I have sat in some of these types of discussion. Okay? So there were groups of 3 in one field. Hindi ko nasasabihin. And sabi nila, Madam, ayaw nitong panel member na to na mag-defend kami kasi mali daw yung results namin. They were trying to plead with that. Mag-graduate na. And I said, just submit and then let us sign. Kung ayaw niya mag-sign as acceptance of the final paper, let it be kasi magsasign yung other panel member. So, hindi, mag-isa lang siya. So, sabi ko, akong bahala. Because I will help you. Okay? So, they were allowed to defend just, I don't know. Sabi ko, kayanin nyo na, di ba yung pag-bind na manual na lang, hanapin nyo yung pinipress lang yon, basta gawa ng paraan. Kasi ginigipit nga. For whatever reason, we don't know. So, dalawa silang group of 3, no? Yung isa, morning in-schedule itong isang panel na to, hindi sila magkasunod. Yung isa, gabi pa. Imagine, magre-revise pa, hahabol ng pag-bind, etc., etc. Dami. So, sabi ko, relax. Bata pa kayo, kayanin nyo yung stress. Basta mag-graduate kayo because they're not also trying to tell their parents. So, they defended. Itong ayaw, siya nang una, banat. Hindi pwede to kasi negative, etc. Sige lang. And so there was this field expert dun sa field nila talaga. Ako, I sit in there as statistician. Ako yung last. And I said, okay, the only difficulty of these individuals is being not able to fully render the explanation, but the results are valid. And then, tried to explain, hindi ko na pinakaalaman doon sa sinasubmit kasi mas magagalit. Ibig sabihin, nakita ng somebody, nagpaturo na sila. Di ba kasi nakita na yung paper as they explained it. And so, anong magagawa nito? Di ba nauna na siya? Banat siya ng banat na grabing parang galit na galit pa. How can you do that to individuals who are just trying their first, okay? First adventure into research. Ang panel is supposed to help. So anyway, they were able to do it because I asked for the concurrence of the expert dun sa field nila. Sabi niya, tama po yung sinasabi. Sige. Di ba dapat yung second group dapat sinunod na kasi we were running against time. Pinagabi niya pa doon. Banat na naman siya. Uli siya una. Narinig nyo because you were here. Yung sinabi ni Madam Boy, make note of that. Pero banat pa din siya. Mali daw. They said, no, tama yung results nila. That's why until now, I am not forgiven by that professor. Pero 6 ang nakagraduate. Kasi mali. Maling sasabihin mo, porket hindi yung target results ang nangyari, hindi tama yung research. No, you go through the process. Sinunod ba nila yung procedure na dineclare nila o hindi? Okay? So that is what you need to look into. Okay? So if ever you get to that kind of thing, just relax. Find a panel member who will defend you. Okay? And then from the alternatives, diba? You highlight which one you recommend. And then, etong take action, ibig sabihin, hindi ka lang magre-recommend, sasabihin mo kung ano yung possible actions. Okay? That could provide the kind of anchors for them to find the best alternative. And then, you review your decision. Okay? So, babalik ka na naman doon. So, these are the steps for working on a decision based on the results of a quantitative research. Okay, so what would be the purpose of quantitative analysis in decision making? We provide the basis for a verifiable set of numeric trace. Okay, so ito, tawag dito will be the audit trace. Okay, and we need to utilize an accepted and appropriate unit of measure, okay, for each of the variables used in the study. Okay, and that we are supposed to use or provide standard tools of analysis. Pag walang standard tool of analysis, you can develop your own, but it needs to be validated or justified. And that you need to provide relevant and comprehensive details, okay, on the context. Ibig sabihin, yung operational definitions mo will have to be sustained up until the discussion of the results of the study. Okay, and to establish valid, verifiable, and reliable results, which will now be the anchor for the decision. Okay, so this is where we end our discussion. Thank you very much for your attendance and hopefully for listening. Kindly give me po your last names in the chat box now. Do you have questions po? Any question po? Questions? Meron ba? Is there any question? Yes po.
Wala po, ma'am.
Wala. Sige. Good. Okay. If you... Yes po.
Yung material ko